Okay, it's 7:30, so let's get started with Mercari Women in Tech Volume 7. So thank you everyone for coming today, and I will let's get started today. So I'll start today by kind of going through just a very quick event info for everyone. First of all, please be aware that the event is recorded, and the facilitation is mainly in English today. Please do not record this, and feel free to leave any questions anytime. We'll try to answer all questions that we get as long as time permits. And please share any feedback you have or any, I don't know, feelings you have while you're watching this on Twitter with the hashtag Mercari Women. So let's get started. First of all, if everybody who's joining right now could comment on the YouTube live chat about where you're from and maybe even what time it is, so we can kind of see who all is in the section here today. Yay, go Maya. Thanks, Tim. And like I said, I hope everybody feels free to ask any questions or make any comments throughout the session at any time. Okay. I think we may be getting a few comments, but we will get started so I can explain the time schedule a little bit. Oh, we've got someone from Germany. Oh, 12:30 p.m. So right around lunchtime. And we've got someone, from Canada, but based in Tokyo, so you don't have to do the middle of the night or early morning. An American living in Tokyo. That's me too. So I feel like I've got a friend here. Australia, but in Tokyo now. This is great. So none of you have to do like the 2 a.m. listening thing or anything like that. Fantastic. Thanks, everyone. The time schedule today. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about Mercari, our company, and with especially a focus on our culture and diversity and inclusion, what we do there. And then we will have a panel discussion with various women who work at Mercari. And then we'll have Q&A and just some final notes. So first of all, I will explain to you about Mercari Group and diversity and inclusion at Mercari. And it's, I think, maybe a little bit delayed, but let me do a quick self-intro. My name is Maya, and I work as HRBP at Merpay. And I'm also the D&I lead at Merpay. And I will tell you a little bit more about Merpay, the company itself, later. But first, I wanted to do a brief self-intro because I think I've had quite a little bit of a unique career path. I started out as an interpreter and translator. I'm bilingual in Japanese. I actually grew up in Japan, but I'm an American, so that's why I'm bilingual. And I worked as a relocation consultant and then as an executive assistant. And then actually, I moved to Thailand with my husband for about 3 years. So because of visa situations, I had to stop work. And when I came back to Japan, it was really hard for me to find a job because a lot of traditional Japanese companies didn't know how to look at me because they said, "Oh, well, you stopped work for 3 years. What can you bring to the company?" So that was a really hard thing to overcome. But fortunately, Mercari did not care at all about that kind of career blank. So I joined Mercari as an interpreter and translator, and then later on took on kind of learning and development and diversity and inclusion, and worked in HR. So one of the things that I like to kind of share with this is that a lot of us have very different career paths. I don't think I definitely did not go along kind of a straight path that a lot of people assume, but I'm really happy to where I ended up now as HR. So yeah. Oh, we've got people from Taiwan working in Sydney too. This is great. Okay, so I will get started. Let's get started on kind of explaining to you what Mercari is. So it sounds like most of you are in Japan currently, but for those of you who are not in Japan, or for those of you who have never used our service, Mercari is a C2C marketplace app where anyone can buy and sell items very easily. You just take a picture of anything you have in your home, and then you're able to sell it to someone you don't know, and you just ship it off. It's been extremely popular with people because something that they thought was garbage was something that somebody else really wanted. So it's been a really great way to kind of help the environment as well. And about our company. So our company was established in February 2013. So we're almost 10 years old. Our offices, we have several offices in Japan, and then we also have an office in Palo Alto, California. Our headcount is about 1,800. And regarding our company overview, we have kind of the Mercari app, but our Mercari group has several different subsidiaries, including on the far right is Kashima Antlers. It's a Japanese professional soccer league or soccer team. And then we've also got Mercari US, the app that is used in the US. And then we've got a couple of other subsidiaries as well, which I will explain about briefly. So our products, here. So on the far left-hand side is Mercari, which is our C2C marketplace app that I explained. And then we have Merpay, which is where I work. And Merpay is the payment service that we have within Mercari app. So what it allows you to do is it allows you to take the money that you made selling items in Mercari. And of course, you can transfer it to your bank account or withdraw money cash, but you can also use it to make payments in a convenience store or like just a regular store. You can also use it online as well. And then the next thing here is Mercari US. So it's the similar C2C marketplace app in Mercari. And then on the far right here is Shops. And this was launched, I think, just last year. So it's still a relatively new service that we have. It's also within Mercari, but it's for store owners to sell directly to consumers. And as you can see, the pictures are mostly vegetables, and the majority of them are kind of small, like farmers who can then sell directly to consumers. It's a great way to get fresh vegetables and fruit. Okay, so next I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the culture at Mercari. I think this is going to come up a lot in our panel discussion as well. But one of the things that we value very strongly is trust and openness. We really trust our members to make informed decisions. So we keep our information as open and transparent as possible. And also limit the amount of rules we have within the organization. And this allows our members to make informed, good decisions and also quickly. So that's something that we really value. And speaking of value, we have 3 values that we find that we are base in our culture. The first is go bold. So risk taking and taking on bold challenges to make big impact and learning from failures. So we really encourage people to set stretch goals, and you don't get penalized if you're not meeting that stretch goal, because we really encourage you to set those kind of moonshot goals. We also have all for one, which is we are all working together towards the same goal. And the last is be a pro, which is pretty self-explanatory, but it's really about taking ownership and committing to results. And these values are so important to us that even in regular conversation in the company, you can hear people say like, well, I'm thinking about doing this, but I don't know if it's go bold enough. So like, grammatically, it sounds kind of crazy, but that's kind of how we even talk about it. Our evaluation system is even based on these values. So it's really based in the kind of the root of our organization. Okay, and next I'd like to talk to you about diversity and inclusion in Mercari. So as a lead at Merpay for D&I, obviously I'm very passionate about diversity and inclusion and just making sure everybody in the organization feels like they belong and that they can work to their full potential. But I'd kind of like to talk to you about why Mercari finds it so important and what we're actually doing to ensure that we are promoting it. Okay, so first of all, why do we promote it? And the answer is very simple. Mercari promotes D&I because it is essential to achieve our corporate mission. It's the foundation that we require in order to achieve our mission. And I mentioned earlier our 3 values. But without diversity and inclusion, which is one of our foundations, it's not possible for our members to be able to demonstrate to their full potential. So it's really necessary to have diverse members and an inclusive environment. And there's one more reason that's extremely important, and it's not about the benefits to the company. And that is that we do not reproduce structural discriminations. So we want to ensure that we're not reproducing those discriminations or structural inequalities that exist in society. So some examples, this includes making sure there's no gender pay gap, making sure we're not favoring men in hiring and promotion, making sure we're not excluding people who are raising kids or caregiving or people with illnesses or disabilities. From a language perspective, we're really careful about ensuring that important information is always available in both English and Japanese. So yeah, it's something that we really commit to. And also when you look at our product itself, our marketplace principles make 3 promises: to be safe, to be trustworthy, and to be humane. So all of these is, yeah, obviously kind of based in inclusiveness and making sure everybody feels safe and while they're using our products. So how is our organization? How does our organization look? We have there are employees from over 40 different countries that currently are employed at Mercari. And about half of our engineering organization at Mercari's Tokyo office is non-Japanese. Okay, so it's all well and good if the company is interested in D&I, but what exactly are we doing? So first of all, from a policy standpoint, we have our benefits program, which we dubbed Mercy Box. And these are various policies that are put in place to help anyone who might come into a situation where they cannot work for reasons that might range from childcare, caregiving, fertility treatment, illness, etc. So we have a pretty inclusive benefit system here for a variety of a diverse aspect of employees. And these benefits, I think it's quite common for or a company to offer the benefits, but not everybody is using them. And these benefits are definitely used here at Mercari. In fact, 100% of women take maternity leave, which is pretty obvious, but we have about 90% of men take paternity leave. And the amount that they take off is 2.5 months. And for comparison, in Japan, the average male usage rate of childcare leave is 12.65%. So we are 80% more than the average rate in Japan. So this is extremely high compared to this average. And this is really important to ensure that women are treated fairly within the organization as well. Okay, and then another policy that we have is the new normal work style. So this is working from anywhere in Japan, remote or in-person, hybrid is kind of what we're calling it. We do encourage people to come to Tokyo or come gather at one of our offices periodically because face-to-face conversation is really important. But commuting to Tokyo is covered financially regardless of whether you live in Japan. So this allows members to kind of choose the work style that maximizes their effectiveness and allows them to work to their full potential. We'll talk a little bit more about this in our panel discussion as well and how this has impacted our current employees. There are also a lot of other company initiatives that contribute to inclusion. We had an unconscious bias workshop for all employees, and we released the materials of this program for free, so they're available for anyone to use. So feel free to kind of search online and you can see it as well. And this has been really helpful for a lot of domestic companies in Japan who hadn't even heard of unconscious bias. So it's a training to let people know that we all have unconscious bias and to be aware of it and how we can kind of check ourselves when we notice that we have it. We've also formed a partnership with Kamiyama Kosen, which is a technical high school in Kagawa Prefecture, in order to provide support for students in STEM. And we also recently launched the Mercari Restart program. And this is a program to allow people to kind of jumpstart their career again for those people who had to stop work for various reasons, like illness, caring for children, or caring for parents. Yeah, so it's been designed to help them restart their careers. And lastly, this is not a part of Mercari's business directly, but it is a foundation that our CEO established as a personal project. And I wanted to share it here because it's not directly related to our company, but I think it shows how our CEO is personally committed to action. And it offers scholarships for middle school girls going into STEM. So that has been another way that we are hoping to positively impact Japan. Okay, so I kind of talked at you for a little bit. I wanted to get right into the panel discussion. We've got three great panelists with us today, so I think we can start with their self-introduction and kind of get right into questions. Okay, so if Aya can, once she's on stage, do a self-intro.
Hi.
Okay. Hi, Aya.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, hi, Maya. And I'm so excited to join this panel tonight. Let me introduce myself briefly. So again, I'm Aya, and I was born and raised in Japan. I joined recently Mercari in February this year as the second hire of UX researcher at Mercari JP. I mainly conduct UX research to make sense of our broad customers with rich context behind customers' behaviors, thoughts, attitudes, and needs to help teams make better decisions. Also, I'm currently working on growing the UXO team organizationally. Throughout most of my career, I worked as a design researcher at a Japanese electronics manufacturer company, a gas utility company, and a small consulting firm I co-founded, especially providing UX research and consulting to create new values and business based on insights for clients across a wide variety of industries in Japan. And before I joined Mercari, I accompanied my husband because he changed his job and moved to the US and staying there for 3 years. So I stepped down from the co-founder position and worked as an independent researcher for Japanese clients. So I experienced a kind of career pause for 3 years. During that stay in the US, I gave birth to my second child, being a half stay-at-home mom and a freelancer. In my private life, I am a mother of two kids, 6-year-old daughter and 2-year-old son. In my free time, I really like to watch Japanese traditional theater play, kabuki, and I love sushi and cat. That's pretty much about me. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Aya. I think we can go to next panelist, Anna.
Hi, I'm Anna. I'm originally from Hungary. I did my bachelor in mathematics and my master in security. So I work in security since then. I worked as a penetration tester at a Big Four company. And then I shifted to the blue team side. I became a security analyst and then a security engineer at a cloud company. And this December, I joined Mercari as a security engineer again, originally working from Hungary as a subcontractor because the borders were closed. But now, finally, in March, as the borders opened, I could move to Tokyo. So I'm here. I mainly work in the infrastructure security part at Mercari, and as you can see, on the slides, in my private life, I like running, knitting, and now it has become very important to learn Japanese as well, so it takes up a significant time of this significant part of my free time now.
Yeah, I can imagine learning Japanese while you're living in Japan is taking up a lot of your time. Okay, so I think we can go on to Kanako, if you can do a intro. Yeah.
Okay, hello, I'm Kanako. Thank you for having me today. Let me introduce quickly. I joined Mercari in 2018 as a product manager. Actually, my first career was software engineer, and I worked there for over 6 years. And then I got with maternity leave and parental leave, and then back to work as a product engineers. I switched to product manager because I wanted to focus on the creating service, creating value for the end users, and then I wanted to improve customer experiences aligned with the social changes. I worked as a product manager for a company managed HR platform previously. Since that timing, I was very attracted to the venture culture, startup culture, and after that, a respectful member I met in my previous job, he suggested to join Mercari for me, and then it was very lucky, I think. So in my free time, I like camping. I love camping. And at first, camping was just only my husband hobby, but I'm getting into the so much that we are making plans to going camping twice this coming week. Yeah, that's it from me.
That sounds like a really good Golden Week. And for those of you not in Japan and maybe not aware, Golden Week we call it Golden Week because there's 3 holidays in a row and then 1 work day and then another holiday or something like that. So you take like 1 or 2 days off and you get a full 10 days of holiday. So it's golden. So
Yeah,
and
happy week.
going camping twice. Yeah, that sounds great.
Maya, do you have plans during Golden Week?
Yes, I am going to go to Fukuoka to visit some friends.
Great.
So, yes, I'm excited. Eating good food. Okay, so I think we can get into the panel discussion. And we got several questions from those of you who registered. If you come up with any questions while we are doing this panel discussion, please feel free to ask anytime. This time, I think we are focusing our questions on career progression and then also work-life balance. Career progression mainly because, especially I think for women in tech, it can be kind of tricky or maybe different from the majority, since women in tech is generally the minority in most companies, I think. And then also work-life balance. It's changed, I think, for a lot of us, especially after COVID. So if we can kind of talk about that. Okay, so let's first talk about career progression. So Kanako, you explained to us how you have had very different teams that you worked on in Mercari, different roles and responsibilities while you were in Mercari. How do you make that decision to switch teams and take on a new role?
I see. Yeah. Actually, my first transfer in Mercari was not I expected. So it was 4 months after I joined Mercari team. I wasn't yet satisfied with my contribution to the dedicated team in that timing. But management created the special project to launch a new feature on short notice. So I need to join to the project team. And in that timing, we had to catch up with domain knowledge at first and then designing the feature and release it quickly within just only 3 months. It was very tough, right?
Yeah, really short.
Yeah. And then sometimes it's hard for new members to work together in new area where there is no domain knowledge, there is no veteran members, right? But after the future round, it was a great experience because we could achieve the expected release, and also I feel like I always want to keep this kind of feasibility, and I want to be always be let to go there. Yeah, that is my some experience for that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So even though it wasn't necessarily your choice, some of your transfers, you felt like you were able to kind of take on those new experiences and learn new things.
Yeah, learning new is always required, I think. And then first of all, when I decided to transfer the new team, I need to prepare the how to say team's understanding from the team history with the respectful mind, right? So this kind of iterate is always needed in some cases. So it should be necessary. Yeah.
Yeah, learning something new is always required is really an important mindset, I think, especially with career growth. And I really like how you talked about moving to a new team, trying to learn about the new team and understanding them while also respecting them, even if you want to make suggestions for new ideas. That's something I think that's really important for us to remember whenever we join a new team or a new company. Yeah, thank you. So Anna, you recently joined Mercari and you made a pretty big career move internationally. So how did you come to that decision to come all the way to Japan? I think it's a scary thing to move internationally anytime. And I think even now in COVID, it can be even more challenging. So I wanted to kind of hear about how your thought process and how you came to that decision.
Yeah, well, I also studied Japanese culture and language at the university, so I was always interested in Japanese in Japan. And yeah, I already lived here for half a year, so I knew that I would like to come back sometime. First, I thought that I will move after COVID ends, but I then realized that we don't know when, if it ever gonna end.
Yeah.
So I started to look at open positions, and Mercari seemed like a really nice company. Also, that they have this relocation package, so they are helping with the move. And yeah, so at the interview, it went well. I like the team, and like in the job description, I saw that it's the technical stack that they are using is more modern than the one that I use at my current job, and I can learn a lot. So that's why I made this move, basically.
Yeah, I think switching jobs, or regardless of whether it's internationally or within the same country, keeping that like mindset of whether you'll be able to learn on the new job is something that's really important.
Yeah, especially here I'm still in the beginning of my career, so I'd like to improve as much as I can.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, Aya, you had to put a pause on your career when you went to the US. I know you worked freelance for a little bit. I had to put my career on pause too for a few years. So I was wondering, for those people who might have to do that in the future, whether to move internationally for their spouse or to care for a loved one or something like that, what are some skills that you think that you gained during that pause in your career? How do you think that it has helped you now in your career?
Right. So after I moved to the US and being a stay-at-home mom, that made me really feel inadequate and insufficient as a professional researcher. So I decided to keep participated in the academic community regarding the UX research, especially qualitative research, called EPIC, and taking some online courses, attending annual conference, so that I can keep in touch with a lot of inspiring people, as well as keep learning about knowledge and skills regarding the UX research. And also I wrote and posted a marketing plan about life and services in the US for a marketing company that my friend owned in Japan. And I could easily share my experience together with Japanese companies in terms of cultural differences between Japan and US, and that really motivated me to engage with the kind of an observation fieldwork project as a private ones in the US.
Yeah, that's really important, I think. Um, that while you are like taking that pause, if it is possible for you to take trainings, I don't think that's possible for everyone. But finding something that you find passion or that motivates you, that you're passionate about, and that you can invest in to kind of grow. When I was in Thailand, I didn't do anything related to interpretation or anything or HR related, but I did a lot of volunteering. I also went to Thai language class so I could learn Thai so that I could be a better volunteer. And I learned a lot from that I can now use in my career as well. So no matter where you are, I think there's things that you can learn as long as you're willing to learn and you're willing to kind of challenge yourself. Um, how was your transfer from that freelance and being that stay-at-home mom slash freelance worker to working full time?
Right, right. That was, yeah, my, struggles and challenges actually, because I needed to, consider not only about my career itself, but
Mhm.
also I had to, make sure that my daughter and son could, um, adjust and adapt themselves properly in a
Mhm.
new life in Japan. So I needed to have a kind of, rooms for looking and taking care of them at the same
Yeah.
time, taking my new job. So that was quite, yeah, really, really hard for me. But Mercari also, provided me a relocation support packages that wouldn't, be covered by my husband relocation package, which was really, really helpful. And also, thanks to, your choice, I could live together with my parents, which is quite far from the Roppongi office. It'll
Mhm.
take about 2 hours from Roppongi office to my parents' house. But my daughter really loves to um, live together with my parents, so we needed to um, stay with my parents. So that also another issues to decide where to live. So yeah, that's my struggle. But as the Mercari provides very flexible working arrangement as well as the benefits that supports parents. So I see a lot of parents in at Mercari uh, use that strategically about calendars and schedules
Yeah.
by posting the block calendar, like
Mhm.
family care block. So I realized that in the my first several days, I realized about that. So oh, that's good strategy. So I applied this strategy as well, and then now I posted several calendar blocks that says this is my family care time. So uh, meeting energy or something like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point to bring up. And actually let's I think you kind of made a good segue into kind of the work-life balance.
Mm.
Um your point about making sure that your kids adjusted to their new life is something that I
Yeah.
think people tend to forget about. That's a really good point to bring up. So let's move on to work-life balance. Aya talked a little bit about how she was able to kind of work from her parents' house, and so now she's able to have a better work-life balance and blocking the calendar. That's very common in Mercari. For example, I block it for when my daughter comes home from school, and I have a teammate who blocks it for like working out at the gym, and people just know not to like CrossFit, and the people just know not to put meetings in there. So it's really important for people to find time for themselves. So how about you, Anna? Like, you're really motivated in work, but how do you find time for yourself? And is there a way that you prioritize time for yourself?
Well, I really enjoy that here it's like there is no block time, so we can work anytime we want. If I, for example, like to wake up early and do most of my stuff like from 7 a.m. And then I just call in the meetings in the evening. And if I want to, I can go for a run in the middle of the day. And what I also really like with this your choice that the office is not closed, because
Yeah.
at my previous company, at the beginning of the COVID, they shut down the office completely. And since I live alone, I sometimes would like to meet people and talk to people, and I couldn't do that. But now here, when I decide that I feel like I want to go to the office, I can do it, and I can meet and talk with people, and it's really nice.
Yeah, that's a really good point that you bring up. When we implemented your choice, the idea of closing the office did come up. And in fact, when COVID first started, we really encouraged everybody to work from home. And we have free vending machines. You just push the button and free pop. Sorry, we say pop in Minnesota. A soda or a drink or whatever comes out. And we actually unplugged those for a while because we knew people weren't really coming into the office. But we put it back maybe 6 months after COVID started in Japan. Anyway, what we found was that most of us that live in Tokyo live in very small apartments. I'm currently sitting in my daughter's room, for example. I often take meetings in my kitchen. And people who live alone have just one single room if you're in Tokyo. So it can be really hard to live alone. So we wanted to give people the option to come into the office if they wanted to, but there is no pressure because obviously of COVID and because we trust our employees to make their own informed decisions. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Kanako, how about you? I know you said that you're really into camping, but like, how do you find time for yourself? Is there any tricks that you do? Has your choice impacted your work style in any way?
I see. Yes, since I have been working remotely for 2 years around, so I have become to the morning person, and after I drop off my family, I can start work earlier around 7 o'clock, and then I can finish the work around 7 p.m. or something. And then when I can get ready for dinner, my son sometimes cook for me, so very impressive.
Yeah.
Personal time, yeah, it's difficult to ask, but sometimes I go to the office for change my pace.
Mm-hmm.
So this kind of making choices depends on the day to go to the office is a great. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think for those of us with kids, it's been especially helpful. I'm able to kind of block off a couple of hours in the evening when I know I would generally be getting a lot of Slack messages and meetings, but I just block like 5 to 8 or something like that. And then I will check back in later on if I feel the need to, although I don't always. So it's really nice to have that flexibility. I'm able to spend more quality time with my daughter because in the past I would have had to, in the morning, there is a lot of yelling to get your kids to brush their teeth or get their stuff ready for school. I don't have to do that yelling anymore because I don't have to commute. In the evenings, there used to be a lot of yelling, do your homework, eat your food, go take a shower. Yeah. So there's a lot of yelling in our household. Thanks
Yeah,
to
I
this.
can so relate to you.
Yeah. So maybe it's good for our throats or something. Okay, so I was able to ask you guys a little bit about work-life balance and career. We do already have a couple of questions in the comments, but I think I kind of want to turn the floor to the audience. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments, and I will answer the questions that we've had thus far. The first question we had was about sick leave. So a lot of companies in Japan offer only a limited number of days of paid sick leave. And also, I used to work for a company that required a doctor's note for you to get sick leave, even if it was like a cold, which obviously you're not going to get a doctor's note for a cold. So nobody ever took sick leave. Mercari got around this by we have offered it's generally 10 paid days of sick leave in addition to your annual leave. And that just refreshes every year, 10 days. And it doesn't require a doctor's note at all. So like you can just say, I don't feel well and take the day off. It's you're totally free to do that. And that has been really helpful. The other thing that is uncommon in Japan is so the day that you start, you get all of your leave. A lot of companies don't give you any of your leave until you've been employed for about 3 months. It's just standard practice here, but Mercari gives you those days off as well as your regular holiday days the first day that you start. So it's been really helpful for new employees because I think when you first start a company, you can get really stressed or worried and maybe tend to get more sick than you normally would. So it allows employees to kind of feel free to work in that sense. Okay, and then another question that we have is, does Mercari have any initiatives for cultural mutual understanding? Yeah, so we have definitely a lot of different things. We do have one training internally called communication team building. And this initially started as kind of international communications team building, but we found that it was really helpful, even if you all are all in the same team, come from the same country. And the idea is we have, I believe it's 9 different areas that we ask you, like, do you prefer people who speak directly? Do you prefer people to kind of like give you harsh feedback in a more indirect way? Do you prefer meetings where everybody has their turn to speak, or do you kind of prefer to everybody just speak whenever they feel like it? Anyway, so there's all of these different communication styles, and it helps you kind of map out on your team and learn maybe if you need to adjust specific communications way to kind of meet in the middle with other members on your team. We also do have yasashi communications, which is kind of kind, like I think gentle communication. The idea is that you meet in the middle. So with Japanese, you would use very simple, shorter phrases, and same with English. Try not to use, like in Japanese, maybe try not to use onomatopoeias. In English, try not to use a lot of, I don't know, slang. And just make sure that the non-native speaker can understand more clearly. We also have a lot of language learning support. I know that Anna, for example, is studying Japanese. Are you studying within Mercari? Maybe you can, if you have any experience on that.
Yes, I'm studying in a Mer class. We call it like that.
Yeah.
It's my group is 3 people plus this teacher, and we mainly learn speaking, which is very good for me because so far I mostly concentrated on reading. So yeah, it's pretty useful.
Yeah. And the Mer class, by the way, we have Japanese and English. I don't know if the English is called Merclass anymore, but anyway, the curriculum was made by our internal language trainers. So it's all language training that you can use in work. So I sat in on a Japanese mirror class once, and the topic was like, oh, seat change, which you would never learn that in a regular Japanese like language class. So it was very interesting to kind of see how the curriculum matches what we are currently talking about at work. So that's really helpful in that sense too. Okay, and then we also have here, how does Mercari support progression in your career or into new roles? Maybe Kanako can talk about that. I know you've had a lot of different roles, like support from managers or even trainings or anything like that.
I see. I can imagine. Mercari always encouraged to us to raise one hand if there is any interested in, and they often management board and bosses often answer our question as best they can. So this is one of the Mercari's culture. It's called trust and openness, right?
Yeah.
Then also my boss is sometimes suggesting to us to get the investigating the time for getting the training for new area. So last year I got the training in 2 months. So this kind of stuff is very proactively we can utilize.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, training is that's a good topic, or that it was something good to bring up. Our Mercari does have training opportunities, and each team generally has kind of a budget that we can spend on external trainings too. So, and in general, as long as the training is going to help you work better in Mercari, it's approved. And we also have like a book. Like you can buy books that you need if you want to learn more or read up on something that you're interested in work-wise. So we have a lot of those options as well. We do have internal training programs, and those kind of change depending on the needs of the organization. And we also have lunch and learns, which are really common. So like I know there has been one for like an engineer would host a lunch and learn, like what do engineers do, and they would just explain the process to everybody who's not an engineer. The finance team or the IR team holds a lunch and learn fairly regularly, talking about, okay, how do you look at our newest report, what does this mean? So there's kind of like everybody in Mercari is really striving to grow and learn more, and so the organization itself is really encouraging in that way. And Kanako also brought up that they really encourage you to take on new challenges. And when there is an opportunity, they encourage other members to kind of raise their hand and take on new challenges. So that's another way that I think the organization supports too. And we also have a question about, does blocking the calendar make it difficult to find time to set a meeting? Oh, what do you think? I know you said that you block your calendar.
Yeah, I do. But I provide kind of slacks that if you would like to have a meeting with me, let me know in advance so that I can make sure my time with my parent support. So I think I can find the right time for every people, not only as a parent, but also there are a lot of team members from other countries, especially I think Indian team like Kanako is working with people across the world. So maybe she has a difficult time to find out proper meeting time. But I think I don't think it's difficult to find the time, but rather we can find the comfortable time to talk about concentrate on the topics that we need to look into. So that's I think how it works.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily difficult to find time to set a meeting, but when you do have team members who are like mixed, some are prefer the morning and some prefer the evening, then it can be really hard to find a lunch break because everybody's schedule only works between like 10 and 2 or something like that. So I think that can tend to happen. I've definitely had like online lunch meetings or even team meetings where I say, oh, we will just say this is team building. We will have a team meeting and we'll all order Uber or something
Right,
like
right, right.
that. So there's a way
I
to
was,
get around it.
yeah,
But
I was quite surprised by the, a lot of opportunity to have the, lunch meeting as a team building time, not only, lunch time, but also, tea time or, evening time. And also I can, easily communicate on Slack with, other people. Very
yeah,
easy to, have one-on-one meeting with, other team members or even executives as well, which truly represents our, openness. So I was quite, impressed by the culture.
yeah, that's a great point. We have another question here. If you're currently living in another country, does Mercari require relocation to Japan, even you are opting to work remotely? At this point, yes. Mainly for security reasons, we're asking everybody to work from within Japan. But we do have a comprehensive relocation support system in place, which I think both Anna and Aya touched on a little bit. But yeah, so we do have a lot of support in that too. Um, are there any yearly business trips? Not yearly. It could happen in the future. So in the past, we had like fairly big annual parties for like founding of our company. And those who worked outside of Tokyo in like our Fukuoka or Sendai office would be flown into Tokyo and we would all have this like great big party. But COVID hit. And so it's really hard to hold a big gathering to encourage everybody to come for obvious reasons. But I wouldn't be surprised if it happened every now and then. And again, there are not yearly business trips, but most teams or divisions will have like maybe a quarterly or every 6 months, like an offsite where everybody would gather together. And I think that might become more regular once if COVID slows down and people are more comfortable with traveling and getting together. So yeah, that's kind of a partial answer there, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with COVID. So yeah, I think Aya touched a little bit about the team building aspect that we have. We also do have a lot of other kind of like community building, like the clubs. We have a ton of different clubs, and they were a little bit less active when COVID hit. They're getting a lot more active again. There's an entire club dedicated to bread, where people eat good bread together or something. There is a club dedicated to champagne or wine, and they would use the club fees, which is they get from the company to buy different champagne or wine to kind of taste test together. There's like tennis club, and I think the tennis club gets together fairly regularly, like even monthly, for everybody to play tennis together. And there's like various anime clubs. So that has been a really great way to meet people who are not on your team too, and kind of get to know people. There's a club of the year that you were born. So I met a lot of people who are my age who work completely outside of HR or Merpay, and that I never would have met otherwise. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways that we really encourage kind of that cross team communication, which is really important to kind of have that smooth organization. So, okay. And oh, thank you. Boomy Goomy said, thank you, Aya and Maya, for good ideas to find time. Those sound wonderful. Thank you for that. And then I think we have another question here. With that many non-Japanese people working at Mercari, do you think working at Mercari is more similar like working for international company, or it's like Japanese company in general? Well, maybe Anna, you're like recently from here, from overseas. What do you think about this? Is a maybe hard one to answer, but
Yeah, I guess I'm still a bit new. But for example, I can talk about my own team. Most of my team is not Japanese. Like there are three Japanese people in my team, and the rest are all foreigners. And I guess this stereotypical Japanese company that you need to do long work hours and not the product is important, but that you have a lot of working hours. I think that's not true. So yeah, I'd say that it's not like a stereotypical Japanese company.
yeah, I think I think it's definitely much more international than a very traditional Japanese company. But the reason I hesitate to say that it's totally international is because there are still a lot of Japanese people that work at Mercari. And like Anna said, the evaluation is based on your output and your performance, and not at all based on how many hours you work. And that is a very big difference from Japanese companies. Yeah, so I think we were able to answer all of the questions. And maybe like someone in TA can answer about the working visa for the foreigner and how long it usually takes for a working visa. How long we support the visa, how long it takes really depends on the situation. Especially with COVID, things have been kind of crowded and different. So I kind of hesitate to answer that question. Oh, it's usually 1 to 2 months from start to finish is the answer. Oh, and there is a question directly for Anna. In the security department, how flexible is it to try our hands on different roles? What do you think so far?
Yeah, well, I can talk. I do a lot of different stuff in my group. Like for example, I usually work on developing our logging automating tool for the threat detection. But since I have a past in pen testing, I also participate in a project right now, which is about red teaming, so like attacking our internal infrastructure. So I guess we are pretty flexible.
Yeah, the security team is a pretty good team in my opinion. I will also say that one of my former team members, who was an interpreter with me, ended up eventually transferring to the security team. So I went from an interpreter to HR, which is kind of a weird switch, but he went from an interpreter to security engineer, which is also a very unique switch. We also have several people in the company who didn't start out as engineers, who later became engineers too. So that there is definitely a lot of opportunity for movement within the company and growth within the company in that sense as well. Okay, so we only have about a couple of minutes left, and I think we were able to answer all of the questions that we got so far. So thank you everyone for your time today. Please give your feedback. Tell us how we did. Please let us know so that we can improve any future sessions that we have. And it would be great to, if we do hold English sessions fairly regularly. So if you're interested in joining any other sessions as well, please do let us know. Thank you again for coming. I hope you enjoyed it. And we hope if you are at all interested at Mercari that you might apply. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye.
you.